There have been numerous protests taking place in Brazil in as many as 8 cities, and the protests have to do with the fact that people are being taxed. However, their social services are being put in jeopardy. They're not being represented properly. Some people are reporting that these Brazilians are protesting because of the fact that their public transportation fare has been increased, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're frustrated with the fact that there's government corruption, much like we have here in the United States, and they're taking to the streets, and they're taking to the streets in large numbers. You can see how massive these protests have become. They're taking place in at least 8 big cities with about 240,000 people taking part nationwide.
And of course, several dozen have been reported injured in Rio de Janeiro and Belo Horizonte, if I'm saying that right, which is unlikely. And anytime that you have these kind of mass protests, it's nearly impossible to not have some people injured. But here's a couple of important things about that. Every report I've seen indicates the great majority of the protesters were peaceful. There were some clashes with the police, but what's interesting is that last week, when the protests began, the clashes were much worse, apparently, and that's because the police overreacted, as they did in Turkey and as they do here in the U.S. with the Occupy movement, etc. And this week, when the police apparently scaled it back a little bit, things were far more peaceful and what went much smoother.
Now, they're frustrated because of the fact that a huge amount of money is being spent on the World Cup and also the 2016 Olympics. And, at the same time, I have a friend that lives in Brazil, and she was telling me that, if you're making minimum wage in Brazil and you don't have a car, you're in a world of trouble. As much as 1/5, at least she claims that 1/5 of her salary is now going toward public transportation, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
And she's saying that it's really hard to get around. The public transportation is now becoming inefficient because of the fact that there are so many people living in Brazil. It's overpopulated, and they don't have, public transportation going to certain routes that people need. So they would much rather see their tax dollars spent on something like that as opposed to something like the World Cup or the 2016 Olympics. Now, one protester said the following: we're massacred by the government's taxes, yet when we leave home in the morning to get to work, we don't know if we'll make it home alive because of the violence. That's another thing that they've been very upset about. We don't have good schools for our kids. She continues, our hospitals are in awful shape. Corruption is rife. These protests will make history and wake our politicians up to the fact that we're not taking it anymore.
I think it's the universal frustration that we all have that somehow we're not the ones that the government is serving. Right. Whether it's Brazil, it's the U.S., it's Turkey. Some people are being served, whether it's a mall being put up in Taksim, near Taksim Square, and somebody's going to make money off of that. Whether it's the banks that absolutely control U.S. and its politics here, or it's Brazil where they pay, a lot of taxes, and then it turns out it doesn't go to them, and they still get the rate hikes on the buses that they can't afford, and it doesn't go to their health, it doesn't go to their schools. Then they're like, what's it for? And they're worried that the governments are not on our side.